officers making a major drug bust, breaking up a drug trafficking ring. We'll bring you all the details coming up in the Bahamas tonight.
Also ahead tonight, a victim of crime says emphasis ought to be placed on punishment before reform.
The wheels are now in motion to deal with the drainage problem here in the Pinewood Gardens area. I'll explain coming up in the Bahamas tonight.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Topping the news, several persons are in police custody in connection with a big drug bust in eastern New Providence. Almost a dozen sacks of marijuana were seized, putting a major dent in organized crime. Our Janae Noel Ferguson has the details.
Officers from the Drug Enforcement Unit discovered 10 croco sacks of marijuana in a vehicle at a home in eastern New Providence shortly after 6 Thursday morning. The drugs transported to DEU's administrative office on Thompson Boulevard, where Chief Superintendent of Police Samuel Butler explained officers launched a major operation over the course of 3 days that yielded significant results.
Early morning of Thursday, the Drug Enforcement Unit, again, working on reliable intelligence, was able to conduct surveillance in the western New Providence, where we received some additional information of a vessel offloading onto the shoreline and several vehicles collecting them. The tactical team of drug enforcement went in, was able to arrest several persons on spot. We continued our investigation where it led us into the eastern New Providence, to a resident off the Eastern Road. We now have 5 Bahamians in custody, 4 males and a female, ranging from age 45 to 22.
Now, the drugs weighed in at 341 pounds and have an estimated street value of $340,000. They were believed to have originated from Jamaica. Butler said they believe they have closed in on a major multinational organized drug trafficking ring.
But what is significant to this arrest for us, the Drug Enforcement Unit, we know that this is a major drug trafficking ring, and we have made that significant strive in interdicting and apprehending some of the leaders of that organization.
This is the first significant drug bust of 2016, and Butler said they're working with international partners to continue to make inroads in not only illegal drug circuits, but other criminal operations.
Because within the drug trafficking rings, we recognize that the other elements of organized crime, as it relates to gang, that leads from gang into firearms trafficking or possession of firearms. And so we know that if we continue to diminish the power level of these drug organizations, we will also be able to stabilize some of these other criminal activities that is affecting our society.
The confiscated drugs will eventually be submitted for evidence and then destroyed. Janae Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Police are questioning a man in connection with yesterday's home invasion at the home of Pastor Rex Major. The pastor, his wife, and daughter were at home when 5 masked gunmen made their way inside by smashing a sliding door in search of cash. Major said one of the robbers gun-butted him in the head, and the assailants took 3 televisions, a DVD player, and an iPad and money before fleeing the home. Following the ordeal, Pastor Major said government needs to place more focus on real punishment for crimes.
We don't send people to prison because we want to change them. That's not why we catch them off the street, because they committed a crime. We want to punish them for what they've done. Now, if in the good graces somehow you get a change around, nice, but that's not why we brought you there. That's not why we brought you here. We want you have to be punished for the crime you've committed. We don't bring you here to pander you, make you safer. No, that's what, and we get mixed up now. We putting correctional strategies in place in a punishment environment.
Bahamian authorities have expressed concern over the trafficking of firearms into the country from the United States, noting that guns aren't manufactured here. Reportedly, 90% of the guns used last year in crimes were trafficked from the United States. Speaking to reporters during a media briefing this week, U.S. Chargé d'Affaires Lisa Johnson says the U.S. is indeed concerned about firearms trafficking and is working with local authorities to address the problem. She says U.S. Homeland Security and AFT have partnered with the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and they've had success in their investigations.
There were arrests and indictments in Florida of U.S. citizens, and at the same time arrests in the same case in the Bahamas in Freeport. But we know we need to do more. And moving forward, we're also going to need to look at things like various entry points and identify mechanisms, policies, and procedures that will help stop guns from coming into the Bahamas.
Now, the U.S. ATF has an enforcement group and intelligence analysts whose primary job is to prevent firearms trafficking into the Caribbean. And while this is working, Johnson says the government must examine its options in addressing the challenging issues of guns.
And ATF went further and actually has sent an agent to our embassy here in Nassau. He arrived last week, who will work full-time in the embassy and be embedded with the RBPF working on firearms cases. You're not going to find the answer to your gun problem in U.S. legislation or change in policy. You're going to find it by working closely with us both on investigating and trying to shut down some of these criminal rings that are bringing guns into this country and finding ways to stop that.
Efforts are underway to ensure that criminal defendants who are unable to afford attorneys are properly represented when they appear before a court. Our friend Carey tells us more about the initiative.
The Public Defender's Office expected to be fully operational this year, paving the way for accused persons to have access to justice regardless of their financial situation. Attorney General Allison Maynard Gibson says the initiative is critical to the proper administration of justice.
2016, we expect the Office of the Public Defender to be fully operational. Office space has already been refurbished in the old Parliament Hotel building, and we look forward to this important new initiative, which will ensure advocacy for the indigent and eliminate delays due to the inability to procure defense counsel.
The Public Defender's Office will operate independently of the Office of the Attorney General and will be managed by the Legal Aid Clinic. The Attorney General has called for an amendment to the Bail Act in order to ensure that bail violations are punishable by jail time.
We urge the courts to adopt a hands-on approach to bail so that persons charged with murder are not readily admitted to bail. Recognize that frequently persons admitted to bail might themselves be murdered. Ensure that repeat offenders are not admitted to bail. Enforce the law by assuring that persons act as suretor for only one person admitted to bail, and act promptly to revoke the bail of persons who violate bail conditions.
At the same time, President of the Bahamas Bar Association, Ellsworth Johnson, noted that as in previous years, many newly called lawyers are unable to find proper pupillage or employment, and he called for the matter to be urgently addressed.
Still that recurring call for the liberalization of the bar in the context where the Legal Profession Act provides for special call where there is no local expertise or in the best interest of justice. I can advise, my lord, that Minister Hope Strawn made a courtesy call on the Bar Council. Minister Strawn presented to the Bar Council the plans of the Bahamas government with respect to making the jurisdiction an arbitration capital of the world. The issue of liberalization of the bar was discussed.
Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
If you know of a crime, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers at 328-8477. You can also call them toll-free at 242-300-8477. You can also check out their website at www.crimestoppersbahamas.com. Let's stop the crime before it's your time.